What games are popular in your country? Okay, what games are popular in my country? Okay, give me a sec. Let's see. I think the most popular game is probably ice hockey because we learn to play that when we're really tiny. And then the second most popular one would probably be soccer because you can play that with just a ball. Hockey can be quite expensive, costs an arm and a leg to pay for all the equipment. So yeah, I think those two sports. Do you play any games? Oh, sure. I play a lot of games with my kids. For example, we play board games and, of course, video games. We've got a PlayStation and a Nintendo Switch that they love. But my youngest boy, he's a little young for a lot of the games, and he's not really a good sport. You could say he's a spoil sport because he always wants to win. To be honest, my older boy's quite good and he wants to play fair all the time, so I like playing with him. But the youngest, he's just too young. How do people learn to play games in your country? Let's see. Well, I think there's two ways that people learn to play games. First and foremost, we learn to play games at school or on teams. For example, you join a football team or basketball team try to get on a baseball team or something like that. Or you pick up the basic rules in your gym class. The other way, of course, is through your friends, just by hanging out with your friends. You pick up the rules and you figure out the best way to play. So, yeah, those two ways. Do you think it's important for people to play games? Oh, wow, that's an interesting question. Let me think. Yes, I would say so, yes. First of all, you can learn a lot about cooperating with others by playing games. One example could be being on a team. You have a captain or a leader, and you all have to cooperate to score a goal or play against the other team. And I think you can use that skill later on in life. For instance, when you're working, you also have to follow directions from your boss. You know, that's like a leader or a captain on a team. And you also have to cooperate with your colleagues. As they say, there's no I in team. So I think it's essential for people to play games when they're young. Now I'd like you to describe an open air or street market which you enjoyed visiting. Okay, so I'd like to tell you about a street market that I enjoyed visiting. So this street market was in Bangkok, Thailand. And I had never been to Thailand before, so I was really excited about going. And, looking around and go shopping. I'm not much of a shopaholic, but, I like to buy things on occasion, and I'm always looking for the best deal. So I'm a bit of a bargain hunter. Anyway, I was looking around, just kind of window shopping around the marketplace, and I found this amazing pair of sunglasses. Yeah, they were just fantastic, and I wanted to buy them, like an impulse buy. But they were quite dear, so I decided to shop around a little bit more. So I asked some locals where the best stall for sunglasses was, and they showed me to this one that was a bit out of the way. It was actually amazing. It had the exact sunglasses that I wanted. If I hadn't asked those local guys, I never would have found it. In terms of how big the market was, it was absolutely huge. There could have been 500 or 600 stalls there. I don't know. Why I enjoyed it? Well, it was really loud and there were lots of people there and everyone was having a good time and there was great food. What else did it sell? Let's see. Well, of course, sunglasses, different food, clothes, t-shirts, you name it. So definitely when I go back to Bangkok, I'm definitely going to go right there again. I've actually got a little list in my head of what I'd like to buy. Part 3, shopping at markets. Do people in your country enjoy going to open air markets that sell things like food or clothes or old objects? Which type of market is more popular? Why? Yes, definitely. They especially like to go to food markets. For example, at the weekends, there's something called a farmer's market where a lot of people sell fresh produce like tomatoes and fresh cucumbers. And this is only open in the summer. I think that a lot of people prefer these markets because they know that the food is fresh and they can meet the grower or the farmer, if you know what I mean. Do you think markets are more suitable places for selling certain types of things? Which ones? Why do you think this is? I think that secondhand goods are particularly suitable for markets. The reason is you can haggle with the owner, bring them down to a lower price. You just can't do that in a large department store. There's no bargaining. So, yeah, if I was going to buy something like an old table or if I was going to buy some old clothes, I would probably go to a street market or something like that instead of a big chain store. Do you think young people feel the same about shopping at markets as older people? Why is that? I think older people prefer these kinds of markets more than younger people. I mean, you usually see older people wandering around those markets buying things, and you don't usually see young people doing that. I think these days, younger people feel more comfortable buying things online, and they don't really like going around spending their whole day shopping. On the other hand, older people like to get out. Maybe they can see their friends and they can talk to people. So I think that might be the reason. What do you think are the advantages of buying things from shops rather than markets? Actually, I've got a good reason for this. I think that if you buy from a shop, you can always return it as long as you've kept the receipt. On the other hand, if you go to a market, it's going to be difficult to find the place that you bought it from. And because it's not a real store, you can't really ask them if you can return it. So if something's broken, for example, in a real store, you can just go back and return it and get your money back or get a new one. But I can't imagine that you'd be able to do that in a market. How does advertising influence what people choose to buy? Is this true for everyone? I think generally that's true. Some people call it keeping up with the Joneses. That means that you're always trying to get the same product as your neighbors. Like, if your neighbor gets a new car, then you want a new car. Or if you look at other people and notice that they're wearing new clothes, then you feel the need to get the same kinds of clothes. So, yeah, there's a lot of peer pressure. And I think advertising works the same way. So, if you see a really cool ad, you might say, oh, I really want that because everyone has the same kind of car, same kind of clothes or cologne. However, I don't think it works that way for everyone. For example, I never buy anything because it's advertised. It doesn't affect me at all. I don't really watch TV or read newspapers or magazines or anything like that. So it doesn't influence me at all. Do you think that any recent changes in the way people live have affected general shopping habits? Why is this? Oh, definitely, especially since the pandemic. I mean, everyone was stuck at home inside and doing all their shopping online, grocery shopping, clothes shopping, and the like. So I don't think anyone's going to go back to the actual brick and mortar stores anymore. Having said that, if you go to the shopping malls, now it's packed, you know? People are packed in like sardines looking around. However, I think that's more window shopping and people aren't actually buying something. Maybe they're looking at it and then they'll go home and they'll buy it online or on Amazon or something like that. And I don't think that's going to change anytime in the future.